Let's talk about top speed and operating speed. So with this boat, I mean, it idles along at like 11 knots, 12 knots beautifully. The owner really just prefers to sort of cruise along at those speeds. But if I was doing any sort of long distance run, I wouldn't be like, well, it does 35 knots, so therefore I'm going to plan my trip on 35 knots. I would be planning my trip on about 28 knots or 24 knots or 22 knots of ideal operating speed, because then the engine's going to be at about 70 to 80%. It's not going to be running at 100% capacity the whole way as we're cruising. And that's the thing. It's like, for example, the Techno Hull that I drive for another owner, it has a top speed of 63 knots. That's 115 to 117 kilometers an hour across the water. It's an absolute animal of a thing. That's great, but its cruising speed, for me, this cruising speed is 48 to 52. Yeah, it's an absolute weapon, ocean-going weapon. Got another boat, which is a big catamaran, big cruising cat, and has a top speed of 21 knots. But that 21 knots is achieved by the engines being at 100% load. And so at 75% load, we're doing 15, 16 knots. So that's that boat's operating and cruising parameter, 16 knots. So yeah, if you want a boat that does 35 knots and you can do it consistently and just running at that sort of 80% to 85% engine load, you really want a boat that's got a top speed of 40 plus. We don't want to run engines at 100% load for any more than sort of about 5 minutes or so. You get 90% load, that's fine, but they don't like running just flat out all the time.